Here come the drums. Welcome to the Mark Peterson Show, and I am your host, Mark Anthony Peterson. This is the podcast that brings you news and views from a Blackish point of view. And today we're going to be discussing the Gayle-King incident. And the title of today's show, Gayle-King living la vida loca. By now, many of you have probably seen the snippet of the interview between her and Lisa-le talking about the late Kobe Bryant. And the majority of you fall on the side of Snoop Dogg, I would imagine, and being very upset at the comments and the tone at which Gayle interviewed Lisa-le, a former WNBA player and a good friend of the late Kobe Bryant. Well, I'm going to give you my perspective. First, I hate how Gayle-King is so dismissive of Lisa-le. Dismissive of a strong black woman who is giving her opinion to a strong black woman. Now, many of you believe, as I do, that strong black women normally stand together and at least respect each other's opinion. I didn't get the sense that Gayle-King respected Lisa-le's opinion. And she's no lightweight. She's a graduate of the University of Southern California, WNBA player, analyst for the Orlando Magic, coach in the Big Three League. So she is no lightweight. It's not like she brought a fan of Kobe into the studio and said, "Tell me about the late Kobe Bryant, the guy you worship." She played on a big stage, has been in some of the biggest commercials, has been on TV and movies, so she's not too in awe of the bright lights that she can't tell the truth about what she's seen. Now, in a courtroom, Lisa-le would be considered what we call a character witness. Someone who would be familiar with someone in a typical situation or a situation much like what the accused is being brought to trial on. So Lisa-le is a character witness, and she provided several instances of where other people, when faced with a similar circumstance in a club, have not acted the way Kobe Bryant acted. Now, look at the key words that she emphasizes. 1, he never asked me to go have a girl come over to him. 2, he never made any violent or threatening or forceful gestures towards women. She said she had other NBA friends that she knew that had expressed those types of actions, but Kobe had never in all the years that she knew him. That's a character witness. And Gayle completely fluffs that off because she was looking for the hidden demon that she thinks exists, I guess, in all black men. By saying, you wouldn't notice it. You wouldn't see it because you're his friend. I'd hate for Gayle-King to be a character witness for me. Because basically what she's saying is what I've witnessed over 10 or 15 or 20 years of knowing you, I can't testify to because there's a hidden demon in you that might come out. So everything that Lisa's telling you that she's seen when the cameras weren't around, that does not matter. The comparative evidence where she says other players have acted in a way that I don't like, but Kobe never did, totally dismissed. You live in la vida loca, Gayle. You live in la vida loca. That's crazy. She gave you facts, gave you evidence, and you totally dismissed her and what she had to say. And I did not like that. And trust me, Lisa-le would have seen it. She's not an ugly person in any way. She's beautiful. When I first saw Lisa-le, I said to myself, if I had met her in college, wow, right? She's beautiful. So NBA players would have hit on her too. She never saw it. And she stated those facts. as a person in the media, as an analyst for the Orlando Magic, as a college graduate, as an NBA, as a professional player herself. She gave context, totally dismissed. I hated that. The second thing I hated about the interview snippet, Gayle-King dismissed the facts of the case. She completely dismisses the facts of the case by saying the witness refused to testify, as if Kobe somehow put pressure on the person, put some sort of undue pressure on the woman so that she would not testify. Now, for those of you who are too young to remember the case, you have to go back and dig through it and realize that this young lady, shortly after the encounter with Kobe Bryant, was telling people at a party that she had had sex with him. Now, for someone who's been raped, I don't know if you go to a party shortly thereafter and brag about it. That's just not behavior that I would typically associate with someone who's gone through severe trauma. Now, I may be wrong, and I will apologize if I am wrong. But that's not behavior that is typical, and that was pointed out in the popular press. That's not me saying it, that's the popular press. The second thing she did was that she had sexual intercourse not more than 48 hours after she had gone through this quote-unquote trauma with Kobe Bryant. And if I recall the article correctly, I think she initiated a relationship with the officer involved in the case. Kobe didn't force this young lady not to testify at the trial. The facts of the case forced her not to testify. When those facts came out, she realized that she had no case. So the next thing she could do was try to use some leverage of public humiliation to get money out of Kobe Bryant. That's the speculation in the popular press. Again, that's not me saying it. But Gayle-King refuses to even bring that forward into the discussion with Lisa-le so that it's balanced and people get a true historical perspective on what happens in these types of cases and what has happened to black men in these types of cases. And that's the third thing I hate. Gayle-King, during Black History Month, by the way, forgot about the legacy of lynching in this country of black men falsely accused of raping white women. The 1931 Scottsboro boys case, where 9 boys were accused of raping 2 white women on a train. In a sham trial, the boys were convicted of rape and sentenced to death. It eventually made its way to the Supreme Court, where it was pushed back down to the lower courts and retried. The boys were convicted again by an all-white jury, even though one of the women admitted the boys never touched them. All but 2 of the 9 served jail terms. One of the 9 was even shot being escorted to jail, which left him paralyzed. These men served jail time for a fabricated case. How dare you, Gayle-King, not even mention the facts of the case in your interview with Lisa-le, knowing this history during Black History Month of all times. Livin la vida loca, lady. Now, black men aren't untouchable. We have a lot to atone for. We got a lot that we got to straighten up, of course. We can't be glorifying people who rap about pimping out women and making them the voice of reason in the community. Women, you can't be allowing yourselves to be in the videos. We got to straighten all this up on both sides of the ledger. And black men, we got to stand up and say it. And I've done it. And it is not cool to get blasted when you blast somebody on Twitter for disparaging a black woman. Yeah, I've called out guys and I've gotten blasted from every angle. But you got to keep doing it. You got to flip the culture and say, it ain't right. And when it ain't right, it ain't right. You got to call it out. We're not untouchable. But you got to get away from this toxic masculinity crap. Black men don't own the record labels that are promoting the crap that's confusing our community. There are plenty of black men who sing about love, who sing about family, but never get a record deal. Why is that? The same people who put Gayle King on the air are the people who own the record labels, CBS Records and others. So if you want to start peeling back the onion and addressing the issues, you got to start at the source. Because if you hate toxic masculinity among black men, then you should equally hate the thuggery of someone who would commission and drop a nuclear bomb on hundreds of thousands of people in a single instance. I made that point for one explicit reason. Because when you hear that, the first reaction many people will say is, well, I didn't invent the nuclear bomb. That was some other white guy. Yeah, exactly. So when a black man does something stupid, it doesn't apply to every black man. And that's the point I want to make to Gayle King. That's the point I want to make to every black woman that wants to throw a wet blanket of black male toxic masculinity out there and net every person of color they see. The same way I would argue the stupid stuff that rappers have said about black women. Get to a re-education class called A Mirror and learn to love yourself. I'm sure if you do, a lot of this noise would disappear. But in the spirit of Black History Month, we'll take a second of silence for the Scottsboro boys. Amen. This has been the Mark Peterson Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony Peterson. News and views from a Blackish point of view. Till next time, guys. Peace.
Hey, you, podcast listener. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Take the blue pill. You wake up in your bed and go back to listening to mundane podcasts that won't challenge your religious beliefs and your so-called truths about reality, the universe, and consciousness. Take the red pill. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast, hosted by Mark Anthony Peterson, and he will show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Event Horizon takes a walk into the paranormal with a splash of conspiracy. It's the podcast that would be born if David Icke and the X-Files had a baby. Subscribe to the Event Horizon podcast by Mark Anthony Peterson on Spreaker, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Stitcher, or any of your other favorite podcast platforms. Remember, all we are offering is the truth, nothing more.